Greetings everyone, I am Bhargavi Trivedi and today we are going to learn regarding origin of mitochondria and chloroplast. And to explain this origin of mitochondria and chloroplast, there are several theories that has been proposed. But today we are going to learn about the most accepted theory, which is the endosymbiotic theory. So I request you to please watch the entire video so that you can have the better understanding of the topic. Now this is the part of BT 101, the Living World Unit 1, Origin of Life. Now there are certain controversies that are associated with this theory, but this theory is highly accepted by the scientists. Okay, so this theory was proposed by American biologist Lynn Margulis. Now, what is there in this theory that makes it so special? So, what happened that there are several questions regarding the eukaryotic cell organelles. Okay, you know that apart from our nuclear DNA, mitochondria has its own DNA, and chloroplast too has its own DNA. Now, apart from having their own DNA, they have double membrane around the organic. So how is it possible? So in order to explain that, we have to learn the endosymbiotic theory in detail. Now, according to this theory, mitochondria are the descendants. Okay, what do you understand by the word descendants? Descendants means they are coming from. Okay, or you can say they are evolving from. Now, what happened? We have named them as mitochondria, but basically they are aerobic bacteria only. And what we nowadays known as chloroplast, they are the descendants of the photosynthetic bacteria. So, what happened basically was billions of years ago, there was anaerobic respiration. That means my bacteria, they were not utilizing oxygen, but with the gradual evolution that is taking place, there were bacteria, or you can say prokaryotes, that were known as cyanobacteria. So what this bacteria used to do, or you can say what these prokaryotes used to do, that they are going to use CO2 and the water, and they were making their own food. You know that C6H12O6. I have not balanced the equation over here, but with the same time, it used to release the oxygen. Now, again, after several billions years, the amount of this oxygen in the atmosphere was increased. But this was critically limiting for the anaerobic bacteria. So bacteria has to do something so that they can use this oxygen and they can generate the energy currency, which is known as ATP. When the anaerobic pathway was happening, the energy ATP is produced via the glycolysis pathway only. And we all know that in the glycolysis pathway, the amount of ATP produced is very less. So, with this accumulation of oxygen into the atmosphere, it gave rise to the aerobic respiration, which is also known as oxidative respiration. Okay, and the bacteria that used to carry out this aerobic respiration, they are known as aerobic bacteria. Aerobic bacteria. So you have encountered two words. One is aerobic bacteria and the another one is cyanobacteria. Now you know how there was the evolution of the aerobic bacteria taking place and how the evolution of the cyanobacteria taking place. So what happened after several billions of years again, there is a process called as phagocytosis, or you can say endocytosis. endocytosis. So what happened billions of years ago? This prokaryotic cell engulfs this aerobic bacteria via a process that is known as I said, endocytosis. Okay, via a process that is known. See, if you split the word endo, that means within. Okay, cytosis, that means inside your cellular processes. So this was engulfed by this prokaryotic cell, and then this aerobic bacteria is nowadays known as mitochondria. You can ask a question that why this prokaryotic cell didn't why this prokaryotic cell allowed this mitochondria to live in a symbiotic relationship, because you know that the mitochondria, they can produce ATP in huge amount via oxidative phosphorylation. But this prokaryotic cell used to have the anaerobic pathway. So the ATP generation was very less. So in a way, if they engulf it, they are providing them with the ATP, or you can say the energy. So in a way, it is beneficial to it. That's why such type of relationship is known as symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic means sim means to live together. That's why this theory is known as endosymbiotic theory. Because endo, as I said, within the self engulfment is taking place and they are living together. In a same way, after millions of years, as you can see that this cell again engulf another cell which is known as cyanobacteria. Okay, so now that resulted into the formation of this is what is known as chloroplast. But not all the cells, as you can see, have engulfed the cyanobacteria. Only those cells that have engulfed the cyanobacteria, which is nowadays known as chloroplast. This is mainly, or you can say chiefly, found in the plants, and we don't have the cyanobacteria. So this type is known as the animal eukaryotic cells, or you can say this one are the plant prokaryotic cells. How do we know that first mitochondria, or you can say aerobic bacteria, was engulfed and then the cyanobacteria, the chloroplast, was engulfed? How do we know the serial order? This was by phylogeny. Okay, so as you can see in the figure over here, there was a cell over here. Okay, so was cell over here, cell over here. Now what happened over here, that this cell was engulfed over here, and this aerobic cell, let me, so this is nowadays known as mitochondria over here. And there was also another bacteria, let me say it as cyanobacteria. Again, it was engulfed here, over here, and you know that this became what is nowadays known as chloroplast. Okay, so it has become, we say them as plants. And these cells, they don't acquire the cyanobacteria. So we don't have chloroplast, we lack chloroplast, and it is referred to as animal cells or fungal cells and all.
There are some evidence that are supporting the endosymbiotic theory. That's why it is a highly acceptable theory. So, what are the evidences that are supporting the endosymbiotic theory? First, hardcore evidence is that it is having the DNA. We all know that bacteria too has their DNA. If it was engulfed, so the DNA was preserved by the chloroplast and the mitochondria itself. Apart from the nuclear DNA, we have DNA also present in the chloroplast and the mitochondria. The second most important thing is that they are having the ribosomes. If you see the chloroplast and the mitochondria, then they have 70 S ribosomes present in them. Okay. Then replication, when you talk about the replication part, so they undergo binary binary fission and then they replicate, which is same as that of the prokaryotic cell. Size and structure, they are also small as compared to the bacteria. Structure, so they are double layered, okay, just like the prokaryotic cell. Location of etc, that it is located in the matrix of the mitochondria and all. And one more important thing is they are also known as semi-autonomous organelles, or you can say semi-autonomous organelle theory. Why it is known as semi-autonomous? Because uh, the word over here, if you split the word, then it is auto. That means to do things on their own. Okay, but semi means that halfly they can do their work on their own, but again then they have to depend on another our nuclear DNA for carrying out certain actions. So first is that they have their own DNA. Okay. They synthesize some of the required protein via 70S ribosomes. Remember, some of the required protein only. But if they want to be fully functional, then obviously it will require some of the 80S ribosomes, whatever the present in the eukaryotes. That's why here the word written over is some of the required protein. Okay? They never arise via de novo. Newly, they cannot synthesis from the left out or whatever it is. They divide, as we have discussed, via binary fission only. Now they have membrane similar to bacteria, as what we have discussed in the location of the extracellular matrix. And here are some references that I have mentioned. Please go through these references for the better understanding of the topic. Again, if you have more questions, then you can always email me your questions on bhargavitrivedi.ljis@lginstitute.edu.in. Thank you.